Greetings, Earthlings! Welcome back to 7th Street.
Will you just cut this out? You're talking yourself into it.
Let's talk about made-for-TV horror. For someone from my generation, there was no better way to be introduced to horror films than on TV. But before we do that, I would like to mention my new Patreon page. If you're interested in some of our cool perks that we're offering, make sure that you go to patreon.com/7th Street. As I was saying, for someone from my generation, growing up in the 90s, there was no better way to be introduced to horror films than television. When I think back to the early days, to the first situations where I ever truly watched a horror movie, they were all from television. I mean, it must have been right around 1997, 98, when I saw my first haunted house ghost movie. Now, mind you, by this point, I was heavily versed in other genre films. I was a complete Godzilla junkie, and I had been watching a lot of classic sci-fi thanks to a tape I had called Fantastic Dinosaurs of the movies. Of course, I'm not 100% on this, and as time goes on, memories fade, and I could be getting the timeline wrong here, but as far as I remember, I was about 6 or 7 years old when this all changed, and I became the horror fan that I am today. There were 4 movies that I remember seeing at around that time, but one scared the bejesus out of me. The 1991 made-for-television ghost film, The Haunted. The Haunted is an interesting one. It's supposedly based on the true story of the Smurl haunting. The Smurls claimed that in the beginning of 1974, their duplex home located at 328 Chase Street in the city of West Piston, Pennsylvania, was haunted by a demon that caused loud noises, bad odors, threw their dog against the wall, shook their mattresses, pushed one of the daughters down a flight of stairs, and a female ghost that physically and sexually assaulted the husband, Jack, on several occasions. That doesn't sound so bad. In the year 1986, the family decided that they would bring in a pair of demonologists, Ed and Lorraine Warren, to help with... Wait, the Warrens? So does that mean that The Haunted exists in the Conjuring universe? Yeah, fuck it. This is the first Conjuring movie. The plot of the movie here is pretty simple. The Smurl family moves into a duplex located on Chase Street, and right away, strange things start happening. Objects are disappearing, strange noises are heard, and their sink has a mysterious water leak. It gets better, I promise.
I swear to God, Jack, I will take the children and I will leave.
Mom's the first one to notice some freaky-deaky shit going on in this house. One day while doing laundry in the basement, she hears Grandma's voice calling out her name. But when she calls back and no answer, she decides to head upstairs, where then she hears Grandma calling her name again. But this time, it's coming from the basement.
Hello? Is anybody here?
Meanwhile, the second person to become hip to the hauntings that plague this duplex is Janet's mother-in-law, Mary, who begins hearing what she thinks is Janet cursing up a storm from the apartment next door.
I never expected to hear such filth coming from you.
Mom, it couldn't have been us. Jack went to work early this morning.
I heard you plain as day.
Go back to Miami and play volleyball. Whatever the fuck it is you do down there. Or we clean up your fucking mess.
It isn't too long after this before the rest of the family becomes aware of the strange things going on, what with shadow figures turning up around corners, light bulbs randomly exploding, and most terrifying of all, hearing disembodied whispers emanating from their pillows at night.
The
The audacity of this fucking film. Seriously, this was one of those scenes that totally traumatized me as a kid. But the disturbing is ramped up one more notch when Jack is then sexually assaulted by one of the ghosts.
Get off me. Please get off me.
The family calls in a priest to bless the home, but the priest takes one walk around upstairs and is like, ah, hell no. Now, with nowhere left to turn, the family calls upon the help of the famous demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren, who only minorly help. I mean, they are able to determine that the house is haunted by multiple spirits, and their whole goal here is to tear the family apart, but the Warrens fail to rid the house of its hauntings.
In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to be gone. In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to be gone. In the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to be gone.
With nowhere left to turn, the Smurl family does what anyone would do in this situation. Go camping!
No. Where's my golden arm? It's here! It's not funny.
You know, I don't think it's very appropriate for these children to be telling ghost stories around a fire. I mean, you literally fled your home because of a demonic possession. Ghost stories around the campfire are usually fun and cute because you don't experience a horrible haunting every day. That night, while the Smurls are out camping, the house goes completely crazy, and all the neighbors in the hood witness what the family has been going through all this time.
They were away on a camping trip.
Again, another moment that traumatized me as a child. The movie then takes a bit of an unexpected turn for its ending, with the Smurls returning home to find all the Who's in Whoville singing Da Who Dore at the house in an attempt to rid the house of its evil spirits. The power of love, faith, and community triumphing over evil. God bless us, everyone. Barf! There's a lot of reasons to watch this movie, but one thing that recently blew my mind about The Haunted was its cast full of genre actors. The movie features Sally Kirkland, who I instantly recognize from Dario Argento's Two Evil Eyes, George Wallace, who's probably best known as Commando Cody, but he was also in Forbidden Planet and The Towering Inferno. Louise Latham was in Alfred Hitchcock's Marnie and The Philadelphia Experiment. Ashley Banks is from Monster Squad, Joyce Van Patten plays a lead in Monkey Shines, and Stephen Markle was in Invasion USA. But probably most recognizable is Jeffrey DeMunn, who's probably best known as Dale from The Walking Dead, but I always refer to him as Stephen King's favorite actor, because he's always turning up in Stephen King movies. The Mist, Storm of the Century, The Green Mile, and The Shawshank Redemption.
Nobody is gonna wreck my family. Nobody! Nobody! Nobody!
The Haunted is a great made-for-TV film, arguably the best, and in my opinion, the scariest. It has scenes that are genuinely eerie and suspenseful. The more I revisit this film, the more I think that it's this strange hybrid of the haunted house genre. It came right at a time that was bridging the gap between old ghost movies like the Amityville Horror, where there's less ghostly action going on, and more of an emphasis on a family falling apart due to paranormal experiences, and more contemporary ghost films that we have today with these long, drawn-out, tense scenes that end with us actually seeing a ghost. The Haunted has a little bit of both elements, making it at times feel like a classic ghost film, and at other times feel like the infancy of the type of ghost films that are so popular today.
The devil knows who we are.
You know, we've had more than one spirit try to kill us. Just so we know it's personal.
The Haunted is one of those movies that I hold very near and dear to my heart. Go check it out, and make sure that you reference this film. Alright, roll the Patreon credits.
Oops.
What? One name?
You think it's over?
I think that spook got itself a room at the Holiday Inn.